Hello, and welcome to another The Great Ace Attorney Chronicles stream. Let's go. Episode 4. Adventure of the Clouded Kokoro. Yeah, okay. Yeah, Kokoro. Well, let's go.
I begin to think, Wilson, said Sholmes, turning his head languidly in my direction, that there is more to this case than that which we have observed. Indeed, that there may be another part to this story that we are yet to discover. His eyes wandered, following the steam rising from his cup of herbal tea, leading him to the distant memory of that snowy evening. To the young lady collapsed on the pavement along Briar Road, and to the knife in her back. Lit in the soft glow of gas lamps, a most extraordinary scene had been set. And under the cover of a light fog, the curtain had risen silently on the insoluble mystery of our invisible killer.
Huh. So is this not about the guy who burned in the garage? Okay. 19th February, 9:47 a.m. British Supreme Court, Lord Chief Justice's office. Oh boy. Let's see. Did you sleep last night, Mr. Naruhodo? No, not at all. It was an enormous hotel, wasn't it? The rooms were so luxurious. I felt like we were staying in a palace. And with all the gas lighting twinkling, it was brighter than day, even in the middle of the night. What about the enormous beds? After my time on the SS Birya, I wasn't going to waste a single inch of that space. I spent the entire night rolling from one side of the mattress to the other. Oh yes, it really was the sort of night you can only dream of normally. Except, when I learned that we owed £3 for the rooms, that dream quickly turned into a nightmare. Oops. Sorry about that. building was so impressive and the entrance so inviting, I just wandered in without thinking. In a lodging house in Japan, that sum of money would put a roof over your head for a whole year. This is why you take money from the rich guy. Come on. I did try, but I'm afraid I couldn't help my tears when we were presented with the bill. I really am sorry. Well, never mind. We must find some more affordable lodging straight away, though. If we're not careful, our entire stipend will be used up in 10 days or less. London is a scary place. Good morning to you at this early hour. Oh, yes, well... Good morning to you, Lord Chief Justice. We have come to report on the outcome of the trial at the Old Bailey yesterday. Susato-san is amazing. She doesn't bat an eyelid, even in the presence of the imposing Lord Strongheart. Yes, I believe you had a very comprehensive initiation into British courtroom practices. Oh, yes, it was very eye-opening, thank you. And in accordance with your instructions, Lord Strongheart, Mr. Naruhodo performed his duty to the end. Yes, I've already been appraised of the offense. Apprised. You conducted a remarkable defense. You may consider the test passed. Oh. No longer are you a student from the Empire of Japan. You may henceforth claim to be a fully fledged lawyer. Yes. Yeah, people totally don't study for years and years and years. Okay. My country is delighted to welcome young talent from such a remote eastern island. Thank you very much. So, I'm a lawyer now. Now, in view of your new appointment, I have a fresh case in mind for you. I'd like you to take it on at once. I trust it won't be a problem? Another case? Already? Nothing trains a lawyer better than practical experience. I'm sure I don't sense dissatisfaction, do I? It's just that yesterday's trial ended unusually. I haven't quite come to terms with it. What's to come to terms with? The man was cleared. What more were you hoping for? The culpability of the defendants has not at the present time been established by this court. Consequently, the jury will not be required to proffer judgment.
Well, Lord Van Sykes, it's been a pleasure, so it has. And as for you, my dear fella, I couldn't have asked for a better defense.
I just couldn't help wondering, if Mr. McGilded really was innocent. Mr. Naruhodo. No. Okay. It's just I never managed to ascertain the truth. And then the trial ended. Well, you needn't let it trouble you for a second longer. Sorry? What do you mean, Lord Strongheart? Magnus McGilded passed away immediately following the trial. And our guilt is... what is that? Oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh. The one time we get a guilty man declared innocent, he immediately dies, so now our guilt is like, you don't have to feel bad, says the game, cause he died. Which, I mean, it makes sense from a game perspective, but no. What? Mr. McGilded is dead? Birds. Undead. I have 19 minutes and 41 seconds until my next engagement. Time enough to talk. I don't understand. What happened? How can he be dead? After the trial concluded yesterday, there was a great commotion in the Old Bailey. As you'll presumably recall, an omnibus had been wheeled into the courtroom. Yes, of course. That was the scene of the crime which Mr. McGilded had been accused of. Precisely. Well, while the bailiff's attention was diverted by some other manner, the omnibus went up in flames. No. How could such a thing have happened? That is being investigated as we speak, but already the police have identified a corpse found inside the charred shell of the carriage as that of McGilded. That's awful. Men must have slipped inside whilst the bailiff's attention was elsewhere. That bailiff really needs to pay more attention. And how could that have happened? That is also being investigated as we speak. Thinking back now, immediately after the trial, Mr. McGilded did mention going back into the courtroom to look at the omnibus.
Well, I must be making tracks now. 'Tis time for the inspection.
Sorry? What inspection?
They're going to examine the omnibus again, so I'm told. I'd asked if I could be present for it myself.
An inspection of the omnibus? Not to my knowledge. I don't believe Scotland Yard had any intention of re-examining the carriage. But then who was Mr. McGilded talking about? Never mind that now. The Yard is making a thorough investigation. This matter is no longer any concern of yours. Leave it to the police. I wish I could. Wish I could.
Poor Mr. McGilded.
So, how did you find your first taste of our country's Supreme Court? Oh, well, I don't know. I mean, it was... Wow. Mr. Naruhodo means that the whole experience was steeped in the solemnity of the Great Britain's long history. It's really a world apart from our own judicial system in Japan, which is only a few short decades old. Wow, Susato-san has such a way with words. And you seem to have a way of failing to find the right ones. The judicial system here is the most advanced in the world. Learn all you can. The most advanced in the world, is it? It was fortunate that your very first trial was a simple affair.
Simple? That was simple?
As I believe I mentioned yesterday morning, it was a trial you couldn't lose.
I don't mean to be contrary, Lord Strongheart, but the case was anything but simple.
The circumstances of the case were so incriminating, I was stunned when I first heard them. In fact, I'm still finding it hard to believe we managed to get a favorable verdict. Is something funny? No, my apologies. However, the fact is that you did receive the not guilty verdict you set out to achieve. And that can only be attributed to exceptional talent. Wouldn't you agree? Well, I don't know about that. Well, never mind. You exceeded my expectations, I freely admit. That much, at least, is an undeniable truth. Which is precisely why I have prepared the new case for you that I mentioned before. What's going on? What was he going to say before? That he's corrupt AF? And he knew that the guy was gonna pull strings? Oops. Could you perhaps give us some more details about the new case you mentioned? Don't tell me. It's a murder and the trial starts in 10 minutes. Don't worry, it's nothing so alarming or quite as urgent as your last assignment. In fact, this case is completely different. Oh, I see. Did he just read my mind? That is to say, no one has died, as yet. And the trial will not be today. There is plenty of time to research the case thoroughly. "23 hours, 43 minutes, and 19 seconds to be precise." So the trial's tomorrow then.
Is everything alright?
Oh, yes. I'm just a little confused, that's all. Yesterday's trial was... well, it's left me wondering if I'm really cut out for being a lawyer.
Oh, Mr. Naruhodo.
I don't know if I could face standing in that courtroom again after Mr. McGilded's trial. Ah, yes, I nearly forgot. There is one similarity with yesterday's case. Once again, there is currently no one to advocate for the defense. Oh. If the situation remains unchanged, the trial will start tomorrow with the defendant unrepresented. And if that happens, I need not remind you of the inevitable outcome.
The most terrible end awaits the defendant.
Yes, that's right. Here we go again. Your time is up. You will have to excuse me. I would advise you to begin making preparations for tomorrow's trial. After all, the clock is ever ticking. Supervillain lair. There are now but 23 hours, 26 minutes, and 39 seconds until the court sits. Last time he mentioned 23 hours, he said there was plenty of time. And one more thing, Mr. Naruhodo. There is something I should like to ask you. Oh, what's that? Yesterday, you remarked upon something. That you intend to see through the will of your late compatriot, Mr. Asogi. I would be interested to hear what exactly you mean by that. Inside 34 seconds. Oh, well, Kazuma almost used to say, you see, that he wanted to learn about the greatest justice system in the world, how the greatest system in the world worked, so he could change ours in Japan. Now that he's gone, I'd like to work towards that myself. And there's another thing.
Oh.
Another thing? Continue. On the way here on the steamship ship, he said something to me. There's something very important I have to do. Something very important? And what exactly would that be? He never had a chance to tell me. I suppose he would have done if he had ever made it to. You're out of time. Well, thank you for the enlightening discussion.
Mr. Naruhodo, what's all this about? Mr. Asogi never once mentioned anything of the sort to me.
I urge you both to focus your attentions on the matter at hand. I've taken the liberty of summoning the police inspector in charge of the case. He'll be able to appraise you of the details.
How long has he been here?
So, I wish you the best of luck and bid you farewell.
There's something very important that I have to do. Kazuma-sama, what did you mean?
I wish I knew, but honestly, he never told me. Anyway, we had better talk to the detective, don't you think?
Yes, you're right.
I hope I'm imagining it, but I wouldn't say he looks pleased to see us at all. What is he holding? Are those wedges? I was just eating wedges. Oh my gosh, infinite wedges. Infinite. Oh my gosh, that's fish and chips. That is. Well, that's fish and chips. That is so cool. Could we trouble you? What do you think? Lovely weather, isn't it? What's the weather got to do with anything? Listen to me, you young Japanese upstart. Some frippery about the weather doesn't get every English gent eaten out of your hands, you know? But Susato-san told me it was foolproof. I'm a busy man. A very busy man. There's a crime scene to investigate, but I'm here having to give the likes of you a talking to. Oh, I'm ever so sorry. Can you imagine what the other officers will be saying? Haven't seen the Gregson though anywhere, have you? No, he's too busy with the bigwigs these days. All because of some pumpkin who's out here on a jaunt from a country I've never even heard of. Hear that ripping sound? That's my reputation at the yard going to tatters. There's no need to rip us apart as well.
I don't believe we've been introduced. This is Ryonosuke Naruhodo, a defense lawyer. It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance. I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant, It's lovely weather we're having today, isn't it?
Works for a pretty lady, and not for you, Naruhodo-san. It's unseasonably fine, I grant you. London winters don't see a lot of sunshine. Unbelievable. How did she pull that off? So, Lord Stronghart has asked me to fill you in on the case. Name's Tobias Gregson. Inspector Gregson to you. I'm from Scotland Yard.
Gregson? Inspector Gregson?
What's up? What's the matter with Susato-san? Does this detective's name mean something to her?
Inspector, are you perhaps the Inspector Gregson?
You're acting like you know this man, Mr. Sato, but he's a London detective.
Oh, I do know him. Very well, in fact.
Very well?
Yes, he features prominently on the adventures of Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, is that publication? Oh, in that publication. What's it called again? Rance Magazine?
That's right. Inspector Gregson and Mr. Sholmes enjoy a wonderful friendly rivalry.
Really? You rival the great Mr. Sholmes? That's incredible. Oh, well, I don't know about that. Mr. Sholmes isn't a professional like myself, of course, but he does come up with the goods from time to time.
Mr. Sholmes is equally complimentary about you, Inspector, isn't he? You've earned his highest praise. Gregson is the pick of a bad lot of all the Scotland Yarders. Those were his own words.
That's his highest praise?
Well, Mr. Sholmes isn't particularly known for giving compliments, you see.
That he's not,
And thanks to that magazine, my name's known all over the land and town now.
That's great, isn't it?
I have to admit that to start with, I was well, flattered by the attention. Everyone wanted to shake my hand, and my reputation at the yard went through the roof.
Well, that's wonderful.
No, it's not. There's nothing more sinister than the man on the street. People are always giving me looks now. They're whispering rumors about me under their breath, I'm sure.
Rumors? Are you quite sure?
He's changed since he started appearing in those stories. The fame's gone to his head. Stuff like that.
Gosh, do you really think people are saying such mean-spirited things about you?
Like I said, they whisper. So I can't catch exactly what they're saying, but I know what folks are like. I'm sure that's what they're saying. As sure as eggs is eggs.
I get the feeling that this detective could be very hard work. Oh dear, perhaps a sudden rise in fame does change people. So, about the case that the Lord Chief Justice mentioned before.
Nothing to tell, really. As far as we're concerned at the yard, it couldn't be simpler.
Oh dear, that probably means that as far as we're concerned as lawyers, it couldn't be more complicated. I wish you were wrong about that, but I have a nasty feeling you're right.
A young woman was walking along the pavement on Briar Road when she was stabbed from behind. Fortunately, it wasn't fatal, but she's still laid up in the hospital, unconscious.
That's despicable. What kind of coward would attack the poor woman from behind? I suppose you would have finished whoever it was off with a Susato takedown, would you?
That's neither here nor there, Mr. Naruhodo.
Brace yourself, Ryanosuke. You've angered her now.
Anyway, after something of a whirlwind investigation, the criminal was arrested. He barely had time for a cup of tea after the incident took place, to be honest.
So, there must have been something left at the scene that led you directly to the culprit? Or perhaps a reliable witness who recognized the person in question?
Let me stop you right there. You're wasting your time on this one.
Sorry?
There's nothing you can do. There's no way to help the bloke now.
Why ever not?
Simple. The prosecutor that's been assigned to the trial tomorrow is Lord Barock Van Sykes.
That should be Baron. Okay.
No. Sounds like you've heard of him then.
Oh yes, we're very familiar with Lord Van Sykes. Barock? Is it Barock? Oh, it could be Barock. I don't know. What is it? Was it? Do people? Nope, not there yet. Believed to be the harbinger of death itself. The Reaper of the Bailey. Lord Barock Van Sykes. That's Barock, okay. Who we faced in court only yesterday. Mr. McGilded told us about him before the trial, didn't he? When Van Sykes stands for the prosecution, they call the accused his sacrificial lambs. And in every single trial in which he has been the prosecutor, the accused has been damned. This Reaper of the Bailey nickname, I suppose he's earned that because every defendant he advocates against is found guilty. Is that it? Well, if that's the case, we should inform you, Inspector, that in yesterday's trial against Lord Van Sykes, Mr. Naruhodo secured a verdict of not guilty. Huh, and what of it? Oh, well, I think that means that even against the Reaper of the Bailey, it's not impossible to save the defendant. No. You really don't have a clue, do you? What do you mean? What happened to that bloke in the end, eh? He's dead. Magnus McGill became a cropper in that omnibus when it went up in flames. So you can't rightly save the defendant, can you? What? What are you saying? Look, if Van Sykes could get the dirt to stick on everyone, he'd be a miracle worker. But that's not how it goes. He doesn't work miracles. He works magic. Black magic. I'd have a good long think about that if I were you. So they either get the guilty verdict or they die mysteriously. And the poor guy gets this reputation. That's fun. That is fun. Are we really supposed to believe that? Right. Well, I filled you in as requested. I'm very nearly out of chips, so I'll be heading back to the crime scene now. We're still carrying out a few investigations there. It was Briar Road, you said, didn't you? Where the incident took place. That's correct, ma'am. And if you head over to the holding cells, you can meet the criminal himself. You've branded him a criminal already? He's as good as. Shaking like a leaf in his cell he is. I'll give you a chuckle if nothing else. He's inmate 53. Speak to the jailer and he'll show you the way. Inmate 53. Thank you. So there's no helping anyone against the Reaper of the Bailey, they say. Is something troubling you, Mr. Naruhodo? To tell the truth, when I recall the trial yesterday, I can't stop myself from shaking. The idea of facing the Reaper in court again is... Well, if you think it's too much for you, there's no shame in turning the case down. That takes courage too. But if the man they've arrested is innocent, you could well imagine he would be shaking like a leaf in his cell. And I, for one, wouldn't find the sight of that funny. So, if I'm honest, I'm still reeling from the shock of yesterday's events myself. And I'm really not sure if I'll be able to help this man, whoever he is. But I'd like to try. So I think I'm going to make some inquiries. Will you help?
Did you really think you had to ask? After all, I'm your judicial assistant.
Thank you. So then, shall we?
Yes, let's go.
Strand Street. 19th February, Briar Road. William Robbins. Wow. Okay. So this is where it happened. Briar Road. Kennerson Brewery. Ah, look, Mr. Naruhodo. Look at that regulations metal helmet. It's unmistakable. The men of Scotland Yard are here. They're investigating as we speak. That is their job, you know.
But Mr. Naruhodo, to see one with my own eyes.
They're often depicted in the adventures of Sherlock Holmes, but I never dreamt I'd ever come this close
to real Bobby's helmet.
What? The helmet?
Hehe. Of course.
I have to try one on one day. Well, I hope your Hattie dreams come true. I don't see Inspector Gregson anywhere. Shall we see if we can sneak past and investigate the scene of the stabbing?
Why should we sneak?
I don't want to upset one of these bobbies and be butted on the head by one of those metal helmets. My skull would crack in two, I'm sure.
Oh no, an English bobby would never do such a thing. This is a land of gentlemen, you know. Oh, a British bicycle. Look. Although the wheel is still misshapen, I'm sure it couldn't possibly be ridden anymore.
Someone must have been doing some breakneck cycling.
It seems bicycles have become extremely popular in London recently. There's even a movement to change women's dress to allow them to ride as well.
The bicycle fad won't last. I don't see why anyone would want to ride something like that. Goodness, do you dislike bicycles? No, not at all. I mean, it's not that I dislike them exactly. It's just that any occupation that involves taking both your feet off firm ground seems reckless. If you've ever tried walking on stilts and fallen into a river, I know you'd agree with me. We'll have to hire a bicycle sometime. You can sit behind me while I ride you around. Interesting. That's a rather typical old brick building, isn't it? I'm sure it has a long and interesting history. Old time certainly seems to have taken its toll on the place. It's crooked and sagging all over. In fact, it looks in decidedly worse shape than the other houses around here. We must find some cheap lodgings ourselves as soon as possible. Yes, you're right. Cheap, but ideally with reasonably level floors. Oh, look at the windows of that building there. Are you sure they're windows? Yes, but they're all filled in with bricks. Oh, you're right. I wonder why. Perhaps it's an empty property where nobody lives at the moment. There's smoke coming from the chimneys, though. Oh dear. Everything still feels very foreign. There's so much we have to learn about this place. I'm pretty sure the windows are boarded up because of the taxes. Right? Because they were taxed based on number of windows, and so people were like, haha, I'm gonna get rid of the windows and you can tax me less. There are piles of snow on the pavement here and there, but the road itself is covered in carriage tracks. It seems carriages often travel down Briar Road. It soon disperses all the snow. I slipped over when I was walking down the pavement earlier. It seems it would be far safer to walk on the road instead. Oh, but you're rather small, Mr. Naruhodo, and dressed in all black. A worried coachman might not see you, and you could be flattened by horses. Well, thank you for the rather small concern. Pretty buildings. Clouds look so big and heavy in the sky, don't they? And with the dense fog as well, everything looks hazy. Well, it's known as Foggy London Town. I can just make out some sort of spire for the fog. It looks like it's still being built though. Aha! Yes, that must be the Crystal Tower, being built for the great exhibition that's to open in 6 months' time. Apparently it's going to be very striking, glazed in on all sides, and the symbolic centerpiece of the exhibition. And the site of the next murder. Woo! It's to be the largest exposition in history? Is it? I can't even begin to imagine it. Oh, that's a Scotland Yard carriage. They use vehicles like that to rush to crime scenes and cart away criminals. You're very well informed, aren't you? It's long been a dream of mine to ride one of those through the streets of London. Well, just pick up a stone and throw it through one of the windows then. But that would mean being arrested in order to ride it. Wouldn't it? Still, if that's the only way, help me find a good stone. No, I wasn't serious. You're really gonna get arrested for a ride. Okay then. Hee What a delightful snowman. I didn't realize the English had a tradition of making snowmen as well. It looks a little creepy though. Oh, it has a scarf. Look. You'd need one if you were out in this freezing cold all the time. I wish I had one. I'm afraid our budget is somewhat frozen at the moment, too. We certainly can't afford a scarf. Surely the snowman here wouldn't miss his. But the person who made the snowman certainly would. Yes, I know. You're right. Anyway, even if I borrowed it, it wouldn't do much to warm my neck, would it? It's covered in snow. That's one of the officers from Scotland Yard. The police are making sure the crime scene is undisturbed. I have a feeling that if we wander too close, we'll be clapped in irons. I think perhaps you're being a little overcautious. We've done nothing wrong, so we have no cause for concern. Oh no, I'm not getting caught out again. Twice is enough. Twice I found myself in handcuffs, despite not knowing a thing about what was going on. Yes, you've had some dreadful experiences. I'm sure that wide-eyed look of panic you're so prone to. It does you no favors at all. Ugh. This patch of pavement must be where the incident occurred. Yes, it's a very wide open space, isn't it? That's true. I can't see anywhere an attacker could have been hiding. Oi! What you foreigners doing here? Ah! Oh, we're just investigating the scene. Conspiring with that mustache fella from Japan, are ya? Conspiring? Come here to destroy evidence, have ya? Get out of here before I give you an in. Go on. He shoot us away like rats. Yes, we should give him a wide berth, I think. What a disappointing experience. Oh, time to go see our prisoner. Oh no, I think I know who it is. I mean, it might be. I hope not. Oh boy. Okay. 19th February, local prison cell 9. So these are British prison cells. Oh, they're ghastly. It feels just like a dungeon. Yes, and having experienced it in Japan myself, I can assure you that our wooden cells feel a lot cozier than these cold stone walls. Oh, don't, Mr. Naruhodo. You're making it seem worse. Apparently our client is in the cell here. But it's so dark at the back there, I can't make him out. I wonder what he's like. Inmate 53, your legal representative is here to see ya. Stop idling at the back of the cell and show your face at once. Am I a cat, as yet with no name? Calling me by number, it's utterly, unbelievably, unjustly unreasonable. I refuse to answer. Okay, I don't think it is. Mr. Naruhodo, what do you think is going on here? I have no idea, but I wasn't just hearing things, was I? That tirade of complaints was in Japanese. Okay, it's not. Good. Good. Excuse me, but who? Shh! Quiet! They're all around, hiding. I know they are. They're watching, listening, even now. I can sense it. Right. So, could I exactly who... There they are. Come to curse me, haven't you? Then try to hide it. You're a ghost! A ghost? Certainly an unstable man. Oh boy. We mean you no harm, prisoner-san. Are you Japanese by any chance? This is beyond my wildest dreams. Okay. Forgive me for that outburst before. I'm so sorry. Oh, it's fine. We were just a little surprised, that's all. Imagine it! It's been 12 long months since I left my hometown. Here I am, in a frightful fix in a foreign land. Oh my gosh. They really giving him anime eyes. So he's sweet, hearing the sentimental tones of a compatriot's voice. Hearing this dark hellhole was a most monumentally moving moment. Who could have guessed that this new client Lord Strongheart assigned to us would turn out to be a fellow Japanese? Ah, what compassion my fellow countrymen show. To dispatch a first-class lawyer all the way from Japan to defend a mere foreign student. Noble, nurturing, never failing Nippon. A first-class lawyer? Oh dear. I think there's been something of a misunderstanding here. I wonder, would you be so kind to tell us what's happened? Why you've been detained as a suspect, for example. Yes, I can, I will. Shan't stay sullen and silent. I'm not quite sure I understand what he means, but he seems happy. Yes, he does. I just hope he actually has a good reason to be. Thank you for your cooperation. I am a lawyer, as you said. My name is Yonosuke Naruhodo. And I am Naruhodo's judicial assistant, Susato Mikotoba. I am a visiting student sent here by our government. Notably, nurtuously named Natsume. Soseki Natsume. So Seki Natsume-san. What an unusual name.
Call me Soseki, please. I am a poet, you see. A writer of haiku. It's something of a nom de plume.
A nom de plume? You mean an alias?
That's right, Miss Naruhodo-san. No! Don't be so prosaic. It's so much more refined than that.
And haiku? That really reminds me of home.
Did I hear that you were visiting students sent for over here by the government? Yes, this is right. A year ago, I was told to go and study English. First, I had to suffer that misery, and now this. It's beyond pale.
Suffer that misery? Did you not want to study here?
No, I mean, I've had an interest in Great Britain for some years, of course.
Oh.
But just because the government tells you to do something, does it mean you can do it? No.
What do you mean?
They told me to study English literature. That I could have understand. That's my field. But no, they told me to study the English language. Utterly, unbelievably, unjustly, unreasonable.
I see.
Only the other day, I was told to send a report about my first year here. I tendered a blank piece of paper. Wise words on white washi.
You must be a man of great standing.
Oh, yes. So I'm often told.
And often like to be told, it seems. So, could you perhaps tell us exactly why you've been arrested, Soseki-san?
I didn't do it. I didn't commit that atrocious murder.
Murder? Oh, no, it's alright. The woman didn't actually die, did she?
But she was stabbed with a knife right before my eyes.
Before your eyes? You mean you saw the attacker?
I didn't see anyone.
What?
If I'd seen the person who did it, do you think I'd be locked up in here?
Oh dear.
Oh dear. It seems this case is becoming rather complicated. Why me? Why did that silly woman have to be stabbed in front of me? It's the curse of London. It's incredibly, inexcusably, irritatingly inconvenient.
So Soseki-san was there at the scene, but he didn't see the attacker.
It's vital that we find out more about the case. It was an accursed evening, just after the snow had started to clear and heavy with fog. I'd been to the bookshop to buy some books, and I was on my way back to my accursed lodgings.
Sure the bookshop wasn't accursed too?
As I was walking along the accursed pavement, I could make out the sole silhouette of another ahead of me. A woman, wearing a green overcoat she was. And just as I went to overtake her, she suddenly let out a scream and collapsed onto the cold, hard slabs of
stone at my feet. How terrible! I called out to the woman, but she didn't move. It was like a ghostly, ghoulish, grim graveyard. Slight exaggeration there, perhaps. I was terrified. I had to get away from there. So I ran. As fast as my legs could carry me back to my accursed lodgings. That's not good. They'll say it was shameful, I know, to run away like that. Tell me, Soseki-san, was the victim of an acquaintance of yours? Don't be ridiculous. Do you think I would know any of these fair-haired English? And a young woman at that? I'm diffident, shy, timid, unsure. I can't talk to people. I see. A young woman unknown to Soseki-san. And at the time it happened, who else did you see nearby? Did anyone pass you? Regrettably, apart from myself and the woman, I didn't see a soul. No one? Oh, great. So the victim was unknown to you, and there was no one else on the street at the time. That creates something of a conundrum, doesn't it? Huh? What conundrum? What do you mean, Susato-san? What's the conundrum? Well, if what Soseki-san has just told us is true, there's something I can't explain. He says he didn't know the victim and that there was no one else at the scene. Then he apparently fled without having been seen. I did. But if that's the case, surely this man has to be the culprit. Ah! You! What did you just say? Nothing. I didn't say anything. Oops. Perhaps I thought that a little too loudly. Actually, that's not what's troubling me. What I was thinking was, how did Soseki-san actually come to be arrested? Sorry? He didn't touch the victim, and there was nobody at the scene to see him. So how did the police ever discover that he was there in the first place? Oh yes, she's right. It was him. That accursed great detective. He led the police to me. All of the bad luck. Accursed great detective? Could it be? I shall never forget the man's name as long as I live. With his haughty laugh and his self-proclaimed greatness. Brash, big-headed, busybody, be gone! May you be cursed until the end of your days, Sherlock Holmes. I knew it. Mr. Sholmes? Sherlock Holmes! Well, I didn't expect to hear that name from this man's lips, that's for sure. It was the morning after the nightmare had unfolded on the pavement before me. I was gnawing on a sliver of hard cheese when some men suddenly burst through the door. They started shouting at me. "This is the police! Put the weapon down!" Yes, it was a thin sliver. Yes, it was hard. But I wasn't eating a weapon!
disgusting, dirty, discrimination, devils!
You clearly had a trying morning yesterday. Love the song.
And there he was, in the middle of all the policemen, grinning like a Cheshire cat. Cheshire. That Sherlock Holmes!
It's actually just Sherlock Holmes. He's English.
I've since found out that he's a famous name in detection here in London.
Yes, the great detective is really very well known.
And his overly sharp mind managed to deduce my whereabouts apparently. He thinks I'm the knife-wielding madman. Me, this weak, stooped kitten of a man.
I wonder what great deduction process led him to his conclusion this time. Do you mean to say that Mr. Sholmes' deduction was the only reason the police arrested you? That would be really most unfortunate.
Well, the thing is, I was thrown into panic when they barged their way in.
Of course you were, that's only natural.
I was terrified and trembling, and they kept throwing questions after question at me, in impossible English. Fiendish, foreign, flammery.
Well, we are in England. You can't really blame them for questioning you in English.
Good point. But my mind went blank. I knew I had to answer, but I didn't know what to say. So I just kept repeating things like, yes, I do, and I'm fine. Next thing I knew, I was in manacles. And before I knew it, I was thrown in here.
Oh dear. I'm afraid that's hardly surprising. First phrase to know. Me no speak English. I don't speak English. That is not, you should not go with I do. I am fine. Then no. Oh dear. I'm afraid that's hardly surprising. I'm fine? He's not fine right now.
Oh boy. Mr. Naruhodo Esquire.
Oh, you can just call me Naruhodo. When we're speaking English, a simple mister is more than enough.
Oh, yes, alright, yes. They've really got to me. This country is poisoning my mind. But please, I beg you to defend me in court tomorrow. You can tell them what really happened. You'll do it, won't you?
Well,
Why? Why is it so hard to say yes
to me? Well, the thing is, I'm just a student like yourself, on a study tour.
A student?
I've defended a case in the Old Bailey. Only one, though. But at this moment in time, I don't really know what I'm supposed to believe in. I'm confused about what justice in this country even means. So, oh, Naruhodo-san. I'm not even this foreign student who was supposed to be here. I'm a sort of locum lawyer, I suppose.
But that armband. That's the mark of a defense lawyer from our great empire. It's a keepsake from the man who should have been here. He was my best friend. A keepsake? I know exactly what they're saying about me. Oh, who do you mean? The lawyers. All the British defense lawyers. They won't defend me. Goodness. Why do you say that? For the same reason you noted before. When it happened, there was only the victim and myself around. I ran away from the scene of crime. I'm not a fool. I know it looks as though I must be the culprit. Must be very hard for you, Soseki-san. Anyway, I am a student from overseas. I'm just a foreign nobody to them. No, someone not to be trusted. I heard them openly laughing about me before, in my earshot, without any compunction at all. Any trial for this man would be a waste of time, they said. And, of course the foreigner did it. They even had the gall to say, that man doesn't understand half of what's being said anyway. That's awful. They are wrong. I've studied more English than half of the policemen who are there on the streets. I've traveled halfway around the world to learn about these people's country and its great history. But no one wants to listen to a man with a strange accent. They all hate me. So, at the very least, I'd like to entrust my fate to someone who can listen to me, in my native tongue. You could do it, couldn't you? When I look into your eyes, I see it. I can see what you've been through. Soseki-san, it's just that... Give me a little time, please. I'll do what I can for the time being. What do you mean? We shall investigate the case as thoroughly as possible. If we can find some clues, it will give us a much better chance, I'm sure. Oh, yes, thank you. I'll be here, all alone, waiting for you. Locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. We should be going then, Miss Naruhodo-san. We have a case to prepare for. Very long case. What's the Japanese delegation doing here? Oh, Inspector Gregson. This isn't on the tourist trail, as I'm fairly sure you're well aware. Yes, of course. We're here to investigate. So you've been here to the holding cells, then? What do you make of the criminal? He's not a criminal, as you put it, Inspector. He's a suspect. We'll see about that. You Japanese like to stick together, I suppose. Well, do what you will. Doesn't bother me. Looks in court tomorrow, and whatever happens, the verdict's a foregone conclusion. Ugh. The stone-cold air of rejection. Take heart. London at this time of year is full of stone-cold air. That makes it worse somehow. Okay. Zoom in.
This patch of pavement was visible and an incident occurred, blah blah blah. Oi, what you foreigners doing here? Ah. Oi. Oh, we were just investigating the scene, officer. Conspiring with that mustached fella from Japan, are you? Yeah? Conspiring? Come here to destroy evidence, are you? Get out of here before I give you an idin. Go on. They shoot us away like rats. Yes, we should give him a wide berth, I think. What a disappointing experience. Okay, I guess we gotta converse before talking. Or examining. Okay. Tell me about the Scotland Yard, Inspector. Ever since I read about it in The Adventure of Sherlock Holmes, I've been fascinated by the place. The Yard is the most sophisticated policing organization you can find anywhere in the world, ma'am. Oh, and you know I've always dreamt of wearing a real Bobby's helmet. It does make them look the part, seeing that policeman there with his helmet on. You can certainly get the sense that this is a man who will take no nonsense in his duty of protecting the city. Oh yes, doesn't he look wonderful? Being in London, Bobby's hard going, I can tell ya. Oh, really? First thing in the morning, you know what he does? He goes around and rouses all the laborers on his beat so they can get off to work. What? He wakes people up? Yup. Raps on their windows with a long pole. Did it myself going back a bit. I had no idea. Bobby works for the people of the town. It's just another one of his duties. After that, he starts tirelessly patrolling the streets all day long. He has to cover 20 miles a day. That's the regulation distance. I can't really imagine how far that is, but that sounds like a long way. Let me see. 20 miles, that's approximately the distance from Tokyo to Yokohama. On foot? That's definitely taking things. That's definitely taking things a step too far. And when it gets dark, of course, he has the important job of lighting all the gas street lamps. Oh my. And I suppose in between all of those duties, Bobbies are expected to investigate cases as well. And chase after criminals trying to evade the law. I'm not sure you call it in between exactly, more alongside, but yes. They're expected to handle these jobs well. We do have men keeling over from time to time, I admit. I always dreamt of wearing one of those helmets, as I said. But with a heavy heart, I shall have to relinquish that dream to you, Mr. Naruhodo. Your heavy heart will be my heavy head if you do. It happened around 5 in the evening 2 days ago, just there in the open bit of pavement. The victim, a young woman, was stabbed with a blade from behind. Is that right? Is it right that the lady is still unconscious now? You mentioned that she's being treated in hospital. I never said you was a lady. Truth is, once she comes around pretty smartish, we won't be able to find out much about her at all. I suppose they haven't been able to take a statement from her, of course. Here's a map of the local area I happen to have on me. You can take it if you want. Really? Are you sure? It's yard policy to give lawyers, defendants, suspects the odd bit of information to go on. I haven't actually accepted the job yet, but still. Thank you, Inspector. We gratefully accept. Local map has been entered into the court record. Woo. Anyway, as far as we know, there was no one else on the scene other than the victim and your fellow countrymen. So who did it, do you think? Not much of a head scratcher, is it? Well, I know Mr. Natsume is claiming to not have seen anyone else around, but just because he didn't see anyone doesn't mean we can be sure that nobody else was present. I'm sorry to have to tell you, but we most certainly can be sure. How? Because, ma'am, the precise moment of the stabbing didn't go unnoticed. What? We have two very reliable witnesses, no less. Ah. It was a typical foggy London day, and your client obviously did see him. There were witnesses now? Huh. Oh man, can't wait for these streets to be relevant. Wait. Are you really saying that Strand Street is not being marked on this? Dang. Who are these witnesses, Inspector? Fellow and his wife. Man's one of the most reliable and respected citizens in all of London. He's a copper from Scotland Yard. Ah! A policeman? That might change things. And this policeman just happened to be there at the exact moment the woman was attacked? Nothing peculiar about that, ma'am. Part and parcel of being a Bobby. Catching them, bang in the act and all that. Do you think it might be possible for us to ask the policeman a few questions? Be my guest. You can ask him what you like. In court tomorrow. Oh. I've no doubt he'll be summoned as a witness. That'll give you something to look forward to. That's that then. He's got no intention of letting us meet the man beforehand, it seems. A policeman witnessed the incident. As your judicial assistant, I must warn you that this could make your job very difficult indeed. Yes, as a non-judicial assistant, I could have warned me of that too. Oh yes, one more thing, Inspector. What? What? The person who led you to the suspect. I hear that was Mr. Sherlock Holmes. What are you bringing up for? Was it something I said? The color drained from his cheeks. Who did you hear that name from? Oh, well, it was Mr. Natsume who mentioned it. He said that Mr. Sholmes was with the police when they entered his lodgings. I'm sure it was the result of one of Mr. Sholmes's inspirational great deductions. Fiddle faddle! Ah! That man's an amateur. I'm sick and tired of him showing his mug everywhere. Oh. I don't know where he gets his information from, but he turns up at the scene of crime.
wanders around spouting incomprehensible rubbish, and before you know it, claims to have solved the case. Yes, he's quite astounding, isn't he? He is a great help to Scotland Yard, though, isn't he? Gibble gabble. Ah! Ever seen this before? Oh, yes, that's Rant's magazine. Wonderful publication of the adventures of the wonderful publication in which the adventures of Sherlock Holmes appears. Yes, well, that wonderful publication, as you put it, sees fit to include several of the Yard's detectives in its stories. And that so-called great detectives makes a mockery of us all. If you ask anyone at the Yard, it's a misadventure to be included in any Sherlock Holmes tale at all. Well, I suppose there's an element of that. We work our socks off, every one of us, only to be thumped by the public thanks to that obnoxious detective. That man's as dangerous to us at Scotland Yard as he is to all our criminals. That can't really be true, can it, Inspector? Clearly, the great detective and the police have a complex relationship. That twitchy Japanese bloke goes on trial tomorrow. Are you going to defend him or not? Well, makes no difference to me, but I will just say this. No London war worth his salt will touch that case with a barge pole. Because the prosecution is being handled by the Reaper of the Bailey, you mean? There's no way to save the man now. It's a waste of time trying. It's all a bit strange, though. Sorry? The Reaper. He hasn't appeared in court once for a good few years now. Yes, we did hear something to that effect. The only people he usually bothers with are the real scum. The master criminals, the violent ones. Master criminals? The violent ones? That's right, he handpicks his victims. Only deals with those guaranteed to go to the gallows for their sins. But Mr. Natsume wouldn't hang for what he's accused of, surely. That's just my point, Sunshine. Yes, the one young woman was stabbed, but it didn't kill her. Couldn't even say the tent was there. So this isn't the sort of case I'd be expecting the Reaper to want to sink his teeth into, for want of a better phrase. Well, it's not exactly a minor infraction, is it? No, there's got to be more to it. Some reason he's taken an interest. Really? What sort of reason, Inspector? You think I can tell what's going on inside that head of that Lord of Darkness? You'll have to ask him yourself at tomorrow's trial. Are we really going to have to face the Reaper again? The Lord of Darkness, as you put it? Well, I don't think we're going to get any more useful information out of the detective. Mr. Naruhodo,
Can I make a suggestion? Oh, yes. What is it? Well, it seems to me that we must speak with him about this. By him, do you mean Mr. Sholmes? Yes, Mr. Herlock Sholmes, exactly. Look at those shining eyes. You can't wait, can you? Well, Mr. Natsume did blame Mr. Sholmes for all of this, didn't he? Yes, he did. He really did. Which makes him an involved party in the case. Are you going to just ignore that? I hope not. I assure you, it is not simply my selfish desire to meet with Mr. Sholmes again. The trouble is, we have no idea of the man's address, even. So, it's Baker Street. How do you know that? It's in the stories, of course. 221B Baker Street, the most famous address in the world. Oh, I see. Oh, there's nothing to stop us from going, I suppose. We better try to find our way there before Susato-san gets any more excited and unpredictable. Hurrah! I'll summon a carriage. So we're to have a reunion already. With the great detective, Mr. Sherlock. With the great detective, Mr. Herlock Sholmes. That name really does make me smile. New location has been unlocked. Sholmes. Herlock Sholmes.
Thank you very much.
It's just up there overlooking the street. Good day.
Thanks again. This is it. The residence of Mr. Herlock Sholmes.
Two, 1B. Eee. That is a stabbing man. Ah! Whoops, okay. 19th February, 12:53 p.m. Sholmes' suite. Or just call it T21B. Let's go. So this is where the great detective makes his living. It feels surreal to be here somehow. Is it as described in the stories, Mr. Sato? Susato-san? Many
Many famous cases have been solved here in this very room.
Oh, I suppose they must have been, yes. I've never read the stories, so it's hard to get quite as excited about it as she seems to be.
The detective chases the villain relentlessly as he disappears into the fog down an unlit London street. Oh, the thrill of it! The romanticism! Can't you feel your heart thumping in your chest? Can't you, Mr. Naruhodo?
Oh, I suppose I can, yes.
So if you don't mind, I'll just stand here and soak up the atmosphere for a while longer. Please, don't mind me.
She's obsessed. Well, looks like our detective friend isn't home at present. And you just waltzed right in. How did you get in here? Why does this man not have a lock?
Excuse me, is anybody home? Oh, do we have a visitor? Hello? Is it a big new case for Mr. Sholmes?
Hello. Wait. Aren't you...
Oh, how rude of me. I'll go and make some tea at once.
I'm sure it's the same girl. Mr. Sato, did you see the girl who was just here?
Oh, yes. Isn't it truly extraordinary?
Do you think that the King of Bohemia came to this very room to ask Mr. Sholmes to take on his case? The King of Bowaria?
King Wilhelm Gottschalk Sigismund von Hamstein, of course.
Sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Forget the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. Forget the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes for a moment and look over there.
The tea's brewed, and I have a freshly baked cake as well.
Is that higher than Susato?
The tea's brewed, and I have a freshly baked cake as well.
Ah, it's you. I knew it. Susato-san recognizes her too.
There you are.
Yeah, she was taller last time. What is this? She looks...
And taking that with you as well. I was looking forward to the trial run of my experimental smoke grenade launcher. Oh, good day to you. I'm, well, the inventor, I suppose, of that machine.
No. Nah, she's the same size. Maybe. Probably. Anyways, it's the girl who turned up at the end of Mr. McGilded's trial in the defendant's antechamber.
I never met a lawyer from the Far East before. Poor you, having to get straight to work when you've only just arrived in London.
Oh, yes, it was challenging.
Well, try this tea. It's my special blend, you know.
Oh, thank you. Is tea supposed to look that color?
Oh my.
Oh my gosh. Ugh. Ugh. My throat's gonna hurt from this.
Oh my, what a fragrant yet mellow flavor. Hooray! It's a winner! I've been blending different leaves designed to elevate fatigue, you see.
Alleviate. Ugh.
You must be exhausted after your long voyage here. And you have another ticklish trial tomorrow.
Ticklish, okay.
Oh, and you're to defend a Japanese man. I do wish you lots and lots of luck. Did Mr. Sholmes tell you about us by any chance? Oh, you know Hurley, do you?
Hurley? Mr. Sholmes to you, surely.
Mr. Sholmes was a fellow passenger on the boat that brought us to Great Britain, you see. Was he really? Well, I had no idea. I'm afraid Hurley's out on an errand again today, even though he's just returned from overseas.
Wait a minute. We met this girl for the first time ever yesterday. After the trial, and only briefly after that. How on earth does she know that so much about us? Did she deduce all those things, do you think?
And perhaps more to the point, why is she here in Mr. Sholmes' suite? Oh, silly me! I haven't introduced myself, have I? It's a great pleasure to meet you both. My name is Iris Watson. I live here together with Hurley.
Ah, Iris, is it? What a lovely name.
What? What?
What's the matter?
No, wait, this can't be. Did you say that your name is Wilson?
What's the matter with Susato-san? Why is she so flustered all of a sudden?
Yes, that's right. And what's your name? And what are your names?
Oh, I'm Ryunosuke Naruhodo, a lawyer from Japan.
Oh, sorry. I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant, Susato Mikotoba. It's wonderful to meet you. Lovely. Susie and Runo. Got it.
Susie? And Runo? There's more to this girl than meets the eye. I have so many questions for her. I don't know where to start.
Yes, and so do I.
I want to look at everything, but I also gotta... oh my gosh, okay. Okay, stay on track. Stay on track. Converse with the little girl. It was you that we ran into yesterday, wasn't it? At the Old Bailey.
Yes, that's right. You were ever so helpful. Thank you so much.
Oh, no.
Oh, no, not at all.
I'm so sorry we couldn't have been more welcoming. Though, at the time, we did have a rather large gun pointed at us.
Like this?
Thinking back now, you left with Miss Lestrade in tow, didn't you? Oh yes, that awkward witness, Gina Lestrade.
Oh, Ginny? Yes, she's a professional pickpocket.
So we found out.
It was very naughty of her to pinch my invention like that.
Are you referring to that trial-disrupting gun-like contraption?
Exactly! So I followed her, you see, to get it back. Perhaps I should think about fitting a self-destruct mechanism in my inventions.
This girl is dangerous.
Anyway, brought Jenny back here after that, so she could apologize to my trusty technician.
Sorry, you're a technician?
Hurley, of course, silly.
Hurley? Nope, nope, nope.
Hurley? Yes, Herlock. Herlock Sholmes. We live here together.
I had no idea that the great detective had such an interesting young daughter.
Daughter? Not likely.
What?
I wouldn't call him Hurley if he was my father, would I?
Well then, what is your relationship with Mr. Sholmes?
Well, I expect that you found out that the lodgings of any kind in London are very expensive. So the solution is to share the cost with a partner, a roommate.
Your roommates?
I hope you don't mind me asking, Iris, but how old are you? 10 at last this year.
Well, what of your mother and father?
Oh no, they're not around. Oh no.
Oh, I see. I wonder what the story is there.
Oh yes, there's something I must ask of you. Of course. Go ahead, Susie. I'm a very great fan of the Adventures of Sherlock Sholmes and... Oh, you have a copy of Ranced magazine! Yes, I read every issue. It's delivered all the way to Japan on a ship. Oh, this is so exciting! My stories are being read on the other side of the world!
My stories?
That's right. It's always solving such amazing cases, you see, and he tells me all about them. They really are quite fascinating. It'd be such a shame if I were the only one who ever heard them, don't you think?
Goodness.
Last night, he was telling me all about the new case he just solved on a steamship traveling from a faraway land. So I was just in the middle of typing up the manuscript for the next issue before you came.
So you are the author.
Yes, I'll let you in on a secret if you'd like. I'm going to call it this latest adventure, The Speckled Band.
The Speckled Band? That's certainly very familiar.
Of course, I always change one or two of the details in the stories, here and there. This time, I had the idea of making a venomous snake be the cause of all the trouble.
Oh, that was Mr. Sholmes' first thought as well, actually.
Yes, and of course I know that a snake might not be a credible fit for the facts of the case exactly, but it's a story. Some poetic license is justified to make it more thrilling, I think. Don't you?
So you mean to say, are the stories about Mr. Sholmes that are published in the Ranced magazine
all written by me? Yes, on my wonderful and very modern typewriter.
But all the stories I've ever read are written by a doctor of medicine, a Dr. John H. Wilson. Susato-san's getting more and more worked up.
Ah, yes, that's me. I mean, my name really is Wilson.
But what about the Doctor of Medicine part?
That's all true too.
I'm a Doctor of Medicine. No, at 10 years old?
At 10 years old.
Well, that's quite incredible.
But...
Dr. Wilson is a gentle English gentleman.
Ah, yes.
I did alter the settings slightly, for the stories to be more compelling. Oh.
Well, it sounds a little strange, doesn't it?
Great detective with a 10-year-old girl in tow. I suppose it does, yes. Poor Susato-san. She looks like her whole world has just fallen apart. About before.
Yes? Yes? What's on your mind, Muno? Do tell me.
How did you know that I was a lawyer and we just arrived in London, I mean?
Yes. Oh, and that we have a difficult trial tomorrow.
How did you know all of that?
Oh, that's what you mean.
Please, tell us how you did it. Explain every detail.
Of course. I'd be delighted. Although, there's really no mystery. Now, let's begin. Iris Wilson is proud to present her Logic and Reasoning Spectacular. First of all, I already knew that you were a lawyer, Bruno. After all, I met you yesterday at the Old Bailey in the Defense Antechamber.
But you also said that we'd only just arrived in London. How did you know that?
I observed a passport and travel ticket protruding from your breast pocket.
Oh.
So I was reasonably confident you must have only just arrived in the country. And on top of that, you accepted a case against that particular prosecutor, telling me you were unaware of London's court affairs.
The Reaper of the Bailey? I walked right into that one, didn't I?
Then I noticed a red ink stamp on the back of Susie's hand. You were given that when you visited the local prison to meet with a suspect, weren't you? Earlier today. Ah. They use those stamps to keep a close eye on comings and goings, you see. I didn't realize. And a red stamp is only used for people visiting foreign inmates. So, that told me that even though you had only yesterday concluded the trial of Magnus McGilden, the two of you had already had cause to visit a foreign inmate at a local prison. However, neither of you was wearing a particularly sad expression on your face, so I concluded that the prisoner was unlikely to be a friend or a relative. That led me to believe that you must have accepted a new case.
I see. But how could you have known that the trial is tomorrow? Well, having barely been home a few hours yesterday, Hurley solved yet another case. It obviously amused him. He told me that he'd caught a Japanese man who was bawling and trembling. A Japanese man? Well, clearly that must have been Mr. Natsume. Now, Runo has that fancy Japanese sword. And I think your outfit is called a kimono, isn't it, Susie? Well, anyway, it was clear to me that you both came from Japan yourselves. So I put 2 and 2 together and decided you must be defending the Japanese man Hurley caught. There was only one conclusion those facts could lead me to. You both came here to ask Hurley about the case. There's a note on the mantelpiece that says the man's trial will be tomorrow. Hurley is always stabbing his notes with a knife, you know. He's silly. And that's all there was to it, really. Thank you for listening. I'm Iris Wilson, and that was one of my great deductions. Oh my gosh, that voice. Oh, hurts so much. Well, was a winner? Were my deductions correct? More correct than Herlock's, that's for sure. They were spot on. That was amazing, Iris. Truly a great deduction. You even managed to discern something of Mr. Sholmes' delivery. Oh, well, I was just copying Hurley's style for that. This is really very good news. You could tell us about the case involving the Japanese man. You will, won't you, Iris? Please? Before we do that... Oh, come on. I do like this fireplace. It's one of the best things I've seen since we've arrived in the country, in fact. Lingering beside the fire and watching the flames flicker and dance in the grate. Ah, it's so relaxing. We can't relax. Not when there are so many interesting things on the mantelpiece. Oh, it's just as described in the stories. Is it? Yes, exactly. Inside that Persian slipper, for example. Are my chocolates for 11s? And transfixed by that large jackknife is my shopping list for the market. Oh, it's not quite how I remember being described in the adventures of Sherlock Holmes. Poor Susato-san, she looks crushed. Okay, but I guess we're not taking a look at the letter which he's stabbed. A mystery shoe, a curious hammer, some mysterious dancing men, a bust of Napoleon. Ah, what an entrancing collection. This is the first time in my life that I've seen a lonely old shoe displayed as an ornament. Oh, those are all mementos that Hurley has collected from his past cases. Really? Even the bust? Yes, that's right. When the mood takes him, he likes to throw it on the floor and smash it to dust. The poor defenseless emperor? Mr. Sholmes destroys it? Yes, and he buys a new one. You make it sound like he has the temperament of an insane sculptor. Ah, how entrancingly bohemian of him. And completely wasteful. Woo! Looks like the huge metal chest is being used as a table and for tea and coffee. It seems very sturdy, with an equally sturdy lock.
Mr. Naruhodo, you mustn't go around opening things. I always have to keep an eye on you, don't I? You're very mischievous.
How did you come to that conclusion?
Oh, that chest contains some of my most valuable things.
And that smile tells me you're not going to give us any clue about what they are. Okay. There's all sorts of sorts on these shelves. Chemistry apparatus, books, papers, and lots of things I've never seen before. It's all heaped up so high I can't help feeling that the whole lot is going to topple at any moment.
I keep telling Hurley not to cram so much on those shelves.
Good advice.
He wanted to look something up on one of those books a while ago. But it was so tightly wedged in he couldn't get out. So he went and bought a new copy instead.
Yes. Entirely new copy of sheesh. Good old Fiero violin. Ah, I've seen pictures of Western musical instruments like this. It's called a violin, isn't it?
Of course it is.
Mr. Sholmes is renowned for his violin playing. Oh, really?
That's right. I sort of just slipped that in.
You did what now? You did what, Iris?
I didn't really give it a lot of thought, and I just started adding to it into the stories.
Yes, Mr. Sholmes' exceptional violin playing has been mentioned a number of times.
But the truth is, Hurley has barely touched a violin in his life up to that point.
Oh.
Of course, people started asking him to play for them after my stories were published, and he wasn't able to tell them he didn't know how.
What did he do?
He went straight to the pawn shop and bought himself a very nice violin, and he practiced. He practiced until his fingers very nearly dropped off.
Must be why he's so highly strung.
Before I knew it, he'd become rather good. The greatness of the great detective really shone with that experience, I think.
It was a great deception, that's for sure. This whole thing's so adorable. What on earth is this huge, over-the-top machine?
That's the great
analysiscope.
It can analyze anything, really. Anything at all.
That's incredible. Absolutely incredible.
That's absolutely incredible. It's one of the Hurley's inventions. It took him a whole year. He said it was to help him with his investigations.
What sort of things has he analyzed with it? Do you know?
Well, actually, he hasn't used it for anything yet.
Oh. Why not?
Apparently, on the evening he finally completed it, it suddenly occurred to him. I don't actually have anything I need to analyze.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
How about you, Uno? Do you have anything you'd like to analyze?
The only thing that springs to mind is this machine itself. Absolutely brilliantly written. What on earth is that big black lump over there? Ah, that's a typewriter. It's a machine that allows you to write on paper without needing a pen. And wizardly quickly too. Oh, that sounds like it would be very useful for someone like me with terrible handwriting. Wait, Iris, are all the stories from the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes? Yes, everyone typed on this trusty machine. Oh my goodness, how wonderful! Susan looks like she's been shown into the Tokyo Imperial Palace gardens. Okay, anything else? Paper. So adorable. That's a charming little white shelf, and full of charming little bottles too. Oh yes, but don't touch any of those. They might explode. Explode? Are they exotic chemicals? Do you use them for exciting experiments? Yes indeed, and as Hurley always says, chemistry is an explosive science. Sorry? I agree. A single discovery can trigger an explosion of innovation all around the world. Or perhaps he just meant it literally. Either way, mental note. Do not touch any bottle that belongs to Iris. What a beautiful English tea set, and so neatly arranged. It's a favorite pastime of mine, a cup of herbal tea in the afternoon. Tea? Made of herbs? That's right! I grow all sorts of herbs in the garden, so I can experiment with different blends. One moment, don't go away. I'll brew a pot of special blend I came up with earlier today. She looks delighted. I only hope it's safe to drink. I think that's everything. Okay. It's so cute. Oh my gosh. She's so cute. So, yesterday, Mr. Sholmes apprehended a Japanese man, you were saying. Yes! Hurley had just arrived back at London after sea voyage, but the police were waiting for him at the railway station to take him directly to the crime scene. Ah. The great detective is a popular man, it seems. Apparently, a woman was stabbed on a quiet street somewhere in town. There were witnesses who had seen a short, shifty-looking, stooped man running away from the scene. A short, shifty-looking, stooped man. Mr. Natsume, beyond any doubt. Soseki-san said he didn't see anybody else on the street at all. But it seems there were witnesses after all. Hurley used his great detective powers to determine the man's address. It was a lodging room very nearby. Went directly there with the police. And what did they find? A short, shifty-looking, stooped man, shivering in fear. Ugh. Mr. Sholmes' great deduction really hit the mark that time. Of course it did. He's a great detective. Still, that means the incident occurred only 2 days ago. Surely, tomorrow is too soon for the trial, isn't it? Definitely. We have no time to investigate properly. Hurley says that London is rife with crime. Oh. Scotland Yard is doing its best, but they can't stay on top of it, apparently. Oh dear. I hadn't realized the situation was so dire. That's why they can't afford to spend too much time investigating cases and trying the criminals in court. Staff and money are both short. Crimes are usually pinned on the first suspicious person. That's terrible. I suppose it's the harsh reality of the workings of the world's greatest justice system. I suppose it is. But in that case, I don't hold out much hope for Soseki-san. Thank you for answering so many of our questions, Iris. This has been very informative. Oh, you're most welcome. I had so much fun. Do you happen to know where Mr. Sholmes is at the moment? As you guessed, we'd like to ask him some questions about this case as well. Well, I expect Hurley is still investigating the scene. Of the case involving Mr. Natsume, you mean? Yes, Mr. Nuts. Oh, May? Hurley said he was going to the man's lodgings. If you leave now, you'll probably catch him there. Iris, do you know where those lodgings are? Well, I imagine police are still investigating the scene of the crime themselves, aren't they? Did you happen to come across a detective by the name of Gregson when you were there? Yes, we know Inspector Gregson. Ah, goody. In that case, give Gregsy this from me, would you? If you do that, I'm sure he'll tell you what you want to know. What is this? A 5-shilling piece and a postcard, it seems. Iris's postcard has been entered into the court record. It reads, tell the gentleman in black whatever he wants to know. I trust that won't be a problem. Gosh, this will make the inspector help us, will it? Well, thank you, Iris. We'll give it a try. Good luck then. I'm going to return to writing my manuscript, The Speckled Band. And I'll be making more special blends of tea, so come back again soon. We'd be delighted. Thank you so much, Iris. Well, Mr. Naruhodo, it's back to the scene of the crime. So, somewhat dubious that they would exert any influence of the men of Scotland Yard at all, we headed back to the scene with Iris's curious note and one of the world's heaviest silver coins in hand. We continued. Whee! Alright. We will end that there for today. Well, thank you very much for watching, and have a very nice day. Bye.